This is Faith's Reward, Part 28 of Surrogate, the Director's Cut. Written by Somniate and Trin, SSJTrinity. The rating is mature. No archive warnings apply. The fandom is Malevolent, the podcast.
Additional tags. Canon-typical malevolent warnings. References to past child abuse. Religious cults. Voices by Lith as Dis, LynnLarsh as Sadie and John, Jasper as Arthur, Vmprsm as the narrator, SSJTrinity, Kraiva, and Somniate as the work introduction. Editing by Flamia. Directed by Vmprsm. Transcript by Saffron. Created and posted with permission from the authors of Surrogate, the Director's Cut.
One of the rewarded cultists of the King in Yellow likes to wander. She has an encounter with someone who has seen her before, but she doesn't remember.
When Sadie first arrived in this place, she slept a lot. She doesn't remember everything about before this place, but sometimes things come back in sharp focus, and then Sadie is gently escorted back to her room. She knows that if she remembers too much and thinks too much about things, it's quite upsetting, but she's not sure why anymore. Maybe she slept so much because the bed was so nice. Sadie is sure that it's the nicest thing she's ever slept on, and the sheets are soft and she's never too hot or too cold. People are generally nice to her, too, and she can't remember the last time anyone yelled at her. Her own room, with a few little things that she can call her own scattered about, and a shared bathroom with the room next to her. Every so often, Sadie does try to remember before. Sometimes. She knows that her father took her and the rest of the family to an elegant hotel, the first hotel Sadie ever went to. There was a city, a grand city, and because of who her father was, Sadie got to sit in the front row of a theater and even got to wear the mask. Sadie liked getting to wear the mask. She didn't have to worry about always keeping a smile on her face or twitching, and so she was relaxed when she wore it. Except when she thinks too hard about that, the world tilts and she feels a migraine come on. Everything is too much, too loud, too fast, and the ground will suck her down into the mud and she'll never get out of it, never ever, and she'll suffocate down in the darkness and the crushing weight, and she'll have deserved it for being a bad girl, a lazy, slovenly girl who... Sadie will wake up in bed after these episodes, and one of the nurses will smile at her and ask if she had a bad day. The nurses are so pretty, Sadie thinks. They aren't human. Sadie doesn't know what they are. It would be so rude to ask, and they've all been so kind and gentle with her. Sometimes she wanders. The home they have is lovely, but Sadie knows there's other things out there, beyond the orchards and gardens and the sweet mules with their soft noses and long ears. She brushes them, and the mules know that she's a pushover. Still, they relax while she chatters with them, and Sadie sketches them from time to time. She doesn't remember where she got the pencil and little notebook. Maybe one of the nurses left it behind on accident. Could she have picked it up and stolen it without realizing it? Sadie didn't find any names or anything like that in it. So sometimes, when spending time with the mules, Sadie sketches them. It's one of these days when Sadie finds her little mouse hole. Sadie knows it's not the right thing to do, so she's quiet and she's careful, but it's exciting. Sadie doesn't take anything from the outside back to her room, and she never tries to be gone too long. Sometimes the nurses don't even find her while she's out, but every so often they do, and the different nurses, the ones with the skin that feel like glass, will gently take her back to the ones she's familiar with. She doesn't mind so much. The different nurses are so exciting to look at. with the soft glow they have on patches of their skin. Sadie thinks of fireflies. The outside is beautiful, and it gives her things to sketch, and she hides the sketchbook in her pocket when she goes back through the mouse hole into the walls where she lives. Not having been caught gives her courage. She sneaks further out when she feels bold, and that leads to the day she meets Lady Dis. Sadie feels watched before she sees the woman watching her. She's too overwhelmed by the new area she's in. It's wide, like an open field, and there's an oval pathway on the ground in one part of it. Rocks, too, and what looks like a wall with stones embedded into it. This is new to her, and Sadie is intently curious. She rocks from the heels of her feet to the toes, and when she looks around slower, actually looking seriously, she sees a lady looking at her. The lady is looking at her more intently than the nurses do, than anyone does, really. She has short hair, shorter than Sadie knew you could have on a woman, and she is wearing a leather vest and armor. Part of her brain, the part that still has self-preservation instincts, says that she needs to pay attention right now.
You supposed to be out here?
There's an authority in the lady's voice, combined with the armor and simply how the woman is. Not the tallest, but certainly someone who does work. Hard work, the kind that makes you strong and muscular. But she's not yelling at her. Not yet, anyway. Maybe Sadie can be good?
I don't know where here is. Is this place off limits?
If it is, well, she'll leave. Sadie doesn't want to get into trouble. She wants to explore more, but if this is a place she's not allowed, like where the nurses go, she won't fight. Something in her shifts. It's like a wariness, very mild, barely there, disappears.
Well, you're in a place people go to get stronger. These are the training grounds. What do you think of that?
Training grounds? Like for sports? That sounds neat.
Sadie remembers her manners now, but she's not being very well-mannered by trespassing, is she?
I did not give you my name. I'm Sadie.
The woman's gaze feels like when the hawks would watch from the telephone lines.
Sadie. Good name.
This place is for sports, Sadie reminds herself. Turn the topic to that.
What are your sports?
She's talking to someone, a really interesting someone, too.
My sport? Being the last one standing. Haven't lost yet.
The woman puts a smile on her face, and there's something odd about it that she can't put a finger on. It doesn't feel threatening, at least.
You good at secrets, Sadie?
I didn't think to ask your name.
When asked about secrets, she perks up.
I'm good at secrets. Because my memory is kind of bad, and I'll forget it anyway in a bit. I won't tell anyone.
She says it incredibly seriously, looking the woman in the eyes when she says it.
Tell you what, Sadie. If you keep the secret of my name, you can hang out here. But if you tell anybody, you'll have to go away. Understand?
Okay. I will be good.
Sadie beams at her.
Call me Dis.
It tickles a little part of her brain and the world tilts, just enough to register it, before the colors and sounds and everything goes back to being okay. All of this is making Sadie a little tired, but it's quelled by the excitement that all of this is causing. Dis keeps her attention on Sadie. That reminds her to speak.
Dis. I'll try really hard to remember your name. I won't tell anyone. It's very nice to meet you. What is... You are the last one standing. Fighting?
Hey! That's pretty good. You've actually got some reasoning ability left. Huh. Guess that's how you got out.
She shakes her head once.
Tell you what, Sadie. You can come here anytime you like. Now, I won't do anything if someone else comes to take you home, understand? But you're allowed to come here. You can watch.
Dis looks her up and down.
Maybe even do some practicing, if you want.
Sadie's eyes go wide.
Okay. Sometimes people do, find me and take me back to where I...
Words are growing trickier the more she speaks.
Need to be. I don't know how good I am at sports, but if you show me, I will try.
She nods firmly.
I can help. Put things away or get things. If you want.
During the rest of her first meeting with Lady Dis, Sadie learns some stretches and balancing practices. She's an eager student because someone wants to teach her, and Sadie wants to learn. Dis tells her to practice them, and then she leaves her be to check on other things. When the nurses come, Dis lets them take her, but she doesn't say anything to get Sadie in trouble either. One of them sighs gruffly and tells her it's time to go back, and Sadie doesn't put up a fight. The other huffs, says something to her that she doesn't understand, and pats her gently on the shoulder. They don't yell at her or hurt her, and Sadie just watches their skin glow, already thinking of when might be nice to visit Dis again. Sadie continues to sneak out once or twice a week, and Dis continues not to tell on her. She's getting much better at knowing when to head back. Some days the nurses will know she's gone right away, and some days they won't even know she was gone. It feels like a secret, the fun kind, where nobody is hurt and nobody is screaming at her to get up, get the fuck up, they need to clean this mess fast. That little flash of memory stops Sadie in her tracks, and she can't move for a bit. For whatever it's worth, Dis seems to know when she's going to be able to talk. Dis doesn't yell at her when she can't. On days when Dis is busy or simply doesn't want to visit, Sadie will practice her stretches, balancing, and if she gets frustrated, she takes out her notebook and pencil. Part of her worries that she will run out of paper eventually, but just having the notebook in itself is a miracle. Sadie works on sketching smaller things, tries to fill up a whole page before moving to the next. One day, Sadie's head is a little tingly, buzzy. Sadie wonders if bees are building a hive in her skull. What would that look like? Sadie wonders if this was the right day to sneak out after all. Maybe she should have stayed home. She could have found a nice little corner to curl in, or could have brushed the mules, or found a place in one of the gardens to hide. So it's a surprise when she realizes that there's a third person in the training grounds. When she had snuck in, Dis had spotted her immediately and told her to practice her stretches and balancing. Sadie had started it, and for whatever reason, the stretching shushed the bees a bit. Sadie is halfway done when she sees what Dis has been watching this entire time. A man, still some distance away, is running. She can't see his face, but she can see him. He isn't running skillfully like she's seen Dis run. From where she is, she can't see him well at all. But she can see him shining. Sadie can see him shining all the way from here. How didn't she notice him before? He's been put through his paces, sweaty and breathing hard like he's being chased. Closer, she can make out his facial features and the shape of him. He stops, hands on his knees. He doesn't look at her. When she looks to Dis for some kind of hint of what to do, Dis is looking at her, watching her like she does. Dis hasn't said anything about the man yet. Can she see him shine? The color and the light of him?
Better. Though I'd hoped you'd shave another couple seconds off by now.
I'm not a cur.
which is a strange thing to say. His halo laughs. Sadie sees, now, the movement in it. From far away, he was just glowing. Close up, the shades change, shift. When the halo laughs, the hues move quickly like when water reflects sunlight, almost rippling. She's entranced. There is something so familiar and almost comforting. Sadie watches them openly, much like someone who's frequently looked past does. She feels her mouth open, then she closes it so bugs don't fly in, and watches the man. 2 voices? The voice that laughed wasn't the man who was talking. She needs to do something with her hands. She stops stretching and opens her notebook to a fresh, untouched page. Sadie drops the pencil in her rush. She starts to sketch, partly so she doesn't rush over and interrupt them, but the man is so bright and pretty and oh! She keeps herself busy but looks up from time to time.
2 minutes off, then you go again.
The golden light, the familiar one, has a different priority.
Arthur,
And the bees buzz in her brain.
we are not alone.
What?
He doesn't look at her. The golden one does, right her way.
Who's here? What is it?
Just a wanderer. A minute 40.
Wanderer?
Wait a minute.
The golden one watches her. Sadie stops drawing and looks around for whoever else is there. Did someone else pop in while she was busy drawing? Upon deciding that, no, nobody else is here, Sadie turns back to Dis and the Shining Man. The voice. The deep voice that she's heard somewhere before, but she... The world tilts slightly, and Sadie scrunches her eyes shut hard. Sadie proceeds to set her pencil down and notepad. The world is very swaying as she draws her knees to her chest, wrapping her arms around them and placing her chin on them. She's being watched, but she's got Dis around, and nobody has hurt her here? Not even Dis or the guards when they take her back to her rooms. Will they be mad she's here? Now she has to open her eyes. Sadie looks, unsure, at Dis.
You're all right, sweetheart. Arthur, you're out of time. Go.
Wait.
I'm not.
Dis draws a knife, and Arthur takes off.
Wait.
Would we get back, John?
Arthur goes on another round through the field. Sadie scrunches her eyes shut again. Arthur, John. Dis, Arthur, John. Dis sheathes her knife.
Drawing something?
Because it is Dis, and Sadie trusts her, she doesn't startle. Sadie looks up at her and smiles her practiced smile. Maybe this is normal. Dis teaches people to get tough.
Hi. I am.
She pauses and holds up the paper.
It's not finished. Do they know your name? Or is that a secret from them?
She lowers her voice, like somehow they'll hear her from all the way over there. But the idea of betraying Dis makes her stomach flip. Sadie would rather burn her own notebook.
They know my name, yep. You're allowed to
She smiles.
be open with them. Sure.
Arthur and his golden glory are returning. Arthur is again breathing raggedly. He's running a little less well than last time, exhaustion making his feet drag, keeping him from raising his arms very high. He stops, leaning on his thighs, dripping. Sadie keeps her eyes on him, but her chin on her knees.
That was pathetic.
Without standing up, Arthur raises his hand and flips her off. The golden being raises his hand, the other one, and does the same thing. From the ground, Sadie gives out a little giggle at the rude gestures. She hugs her knees a bit. Can the man feel the light in his hand? Or is it like a glove?
We're doing body weight next.
Is this
The man can't catch his breath.
necessary?
Don't know, don't care. It's orders.
The golden being is watching her again, and Sadie feels her heart rattle the cage of her ribs.
Arthur. Fuck, that's...
What?
Arthur still hasn't straightened. The ripples flash, it's moving fast. Sadie thinks of thunderstorms back home when her sister and her were counting the seconds between light and sound. Sadie feels small. She is not small enough to escape his gaze. Arthur goes to his knees.
John, what the fuck?
It's,
Friend.
Sadie feels her heart let go of the bars.
Hi. Hi. Lady Dis says that I can come here sometimes.
She gives him her best practice smile, the one her dad always said made her look smarter than she was.
Arthur. It's a cultist. It's one of his.
Arthur stands up. Sadie freezes. She'd been so fascinated with the golden light that she'd forgotten the man that it embraced. He looks angry. Sadie is good at spotting that. Somewhere in the past, she teaches one of her cousins about damage control. Is it a better idea to run and wait for the rage to pass? Or should she just...
Easy. You of all people should have a good appreciation for a toy that got broke.
She's not doing anything. Arthur! She drew us. She can see me.
Arthur doesn't look like he might lash out at her anymore, but Sadie doesn't want to approach yet. This might not stop him. Most people don't stop men.
What? She what?
A lot is happening. A lot. Sadie feels the buzzing in her head. She doesn't know how many words she has left in her before she can't speak anymore.
It's not done yet. But you're so bright, and your face has nice shapes, and I thought, you'd be fun to draw, and...
She flaps her free hand anxiously.
Lady Dis lets me draw here.
Arthur is shaking.
Easy. She's... Fuck. I recognize her.
You do?
45 seconds left in your break.
Oh, come on.
What? Just because there's company doesn't mean you get off easy.
Arthur rubs his face.
Stay.
He says in Sadie's direction and turns toward an area that's been freed from grass, layered with soft sand.
More right. There. Arthur, I remember where I saw her. Take it easy. This'll be rough.
Can't wait to see what you draw.
Like none of that happened. Sadie watches them head off. Usually, when she's spoken to, she tries to answer right away. She has to take a moment to find her words through the swaying world and bees.
Am I in trouble, Lady Dis?
She doesn't look up. Arthur, she reminds herself, told her to stay. What if she doesn't get to come back and spend time with Dis? She likes Dis.
You're not in trouble at all. You don't have to go. You haven't broken your promise to me, so it's okay.
But Dis apparently sees no reason to explain Arthur further. That helps her settle a bit, but the ground feels treacherous under her. Her father always told her that she shouldn't desire too much, because wanting too much leads to trouble. She should be happy with what she has. Sadie wavers, eyes unfocused on anything.
I miss my mask. I didn't worry about my smiles when I had my mask.
She closes her eyes tightly.
I'll stay. I'll be good.
You're plenty good.
Sadie feels like maybe it'll be okay.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll keep trying to be good.
It comes out like a vow. Arthur and the light, John, she reminds herself, are doing sit-ups and push-ups over in the sandy area. Sadie supposes that means she has a little time to straighten up the drawing still. Maybe she can really get to the heart of the light. She holds the pencil a little looser in her hand, trying to add a little bit of last-minute depth. People always thought she was good at that, making it look deeper than two-dimensional space. The pair have stopped doing their exercises. There's nothing more she can do to make it look nicer now. She sets her pen down and carefully picks up the paper and stands up.
Let me handle this, I said.
When he speaks, the light moves, like an impressionist painting.
Fine.
Arthur snaps, facing away from everybody. There's an awkward moment of silence.
You belong to the King in Yellow.
Even with her head bowed, she can see the light from him on the ground, like sunlight through clouds. Or maybe the bees in her head are making her vision funny. Sadie tucks the drawing under an arm and clasps her hands together to keep them from trembling.
Yes, sir.
What are you doing here?
His voice is so nice. Sadie feels her heart steadying. She's reminded of when the other kids in her father's family would all hang out, and when some of the older kids told them how great it was all going to be. Eventually, Sadie finds the words.
Not an it. I got bored in my room, and so I snuck out. But I don't touch or take anything when I sneak out.
This is perhaps the first time Sadie has a bit of force in her voice. She is good. Dis says she's plenty good.
And Lady Dis says I can come here, sir.
With that, all the steel has been spent, and she rocks from the heels of her feet to her toes.
Arthur, I think she's harmless.
Harmless?
Towards the far end of the field.
Yes.
The simplicity of that answer seems to have stunned Arthur. He takes his hands out, releasing his fists.
Fucking ask her. Ask Dis why this is happening. Why she lets a cultist be here. I think that'll explain.
Arthur makes such faces, it strikes Sadie that Dis knows the Shining One is there. Why are they pretending? Unless they don't. Sadie blinks and squints at Dis, glances at the pair of men, then back to Dis. Sadie bites her bottom lip, realizing what Dis has been doing, and taps her ear with her index finger. She raises an eyebrow. Dis smiles again, all sharp like a cliff next to the sea.
You noticed, did you? Well, well.
What?
Minute and a half.
Why is...
Arthur gestures at Sadie.
Why not?
Arthur looks stunned.
That's on brand.
But
what? There aren't too many people here who haven't been crunched up and spat out in some way.
She's buffing her nails on her leather vest. Or pretending to. Making a point.
I mean, myself excluded.
Arthur rolls his eyes.
I'm telling you, this one's not going to hurt you.
But she was at the hotel.
She was there. She didn't do anything but obey.
You what?
Remember. A little. Hey, girl.
The bees crawl around a little bit. Sadie feels warmed and steadied by Dis's presence. She tries to remember one of the balancing practices. Sadie tries to keep track of the conversation because it's important to, and she's still involved in it even if she's not taking part at that moment. When he speaks to her, the beautiful one, Sadie remembers her cousins telling her that things were going to be better. She feels, inexplicably, very tired. She rocks, heel to toe, heel to toe.
Hi. I'm listening.
Her voice feels far away. Dis looks like everything is all right. She's calm, so maybe things are okay.
You were at the hotel in Leary. You were there when the mirror, the masks, you were there.
She stops rocking. She's there, but she's not there. In her mind, the bees have found a heap of discarded garbage that's been left to cook in the sun. They swarm it, and Sadie feels hot and tingly and hollow and deserted. Sadie tilts her face towards him, but she keeps her eyes closed. Even this way, the light comes through them like looking right at a bonfire. Sadie tries to find the words, fails, and what comes out is a soft, miserable noise.
Dad and Mom said we were going to do something important. That everything would be good. We were going to be rewarded.
Sadie feels herself speaking, but she can't make herself speak louder.
A lot of us were there. Dad said that it was told to us that we would do this thing. We went to town. We were going to a hotel. The hotel. And one of my cousins was crying. We went to a city. It smelled like dust and age, and it was beautiful. I got to wear my mask, and that was so good, because then I didn't have to worry about my smile or if I was smiling wrong. Because my dad, I got to sit in the front row. We were excited, but Samson was scared, and then Dad told him not to waver in his faith. We were blessed to see something sacred, the most holy.
Her face is hot and her eyes hurt.
Millie said that the God was going to take us away from bad places, was going to take our souls into the sleeves of his robe, and there was light. We had our masks off. I heard.
Sadie's voice trails off, and she opens her eyes now, but they don't focus on anything. The man haloed by her god is breathing funny.
She's a victim, Arthur.
Victim?
Yes, I remember now. We'd promise things to the cultists. I would. And you know, Arthur, I felt like a really good god because I'd actually deliver on my promise.
Arthur grips his left hand, the one that has the blessing of her god so clearly.
Girl, what were you promised?
Sadie blinks hard to bring herself back. She doesn't turn her head, but she focuses her eyes on him.
My dad told me we'd be taken care of, and safe, and happy. Is that what you mean?
If you did what?
John.
Shh. If you did what, girl?
If we did what we were told. If we followed Dad and were good. I'm Sadie.
Sadie.
Something changes. She can't pinpoint how. She feels a desire to tell him that it's okay.
What were you promised, Sadie? What was your dad promised?
She looks away at the distance.
I didn't get promised anything, sir. I can't remember what Dad got promised. I'm sorry. It's not an answer to your question.
She bows her head again. But John knows. His light moves with his speech, and she can't stop following the movement of his voice, and it's so blasphemous for her to look at him.
Safety, right? Cared for the rest of your life. Always cared for. right?
John.
Sadie rocks back and forth on her feet.
Yes, I think so. I have my own room. You're nice too. Watch. You shine.
She bites her bottom lip.
Wait. She can see you?
Of course she can. The king ensured it.
I remember.
Arthur, she...
I get it.
I don't think you do. He did what he said. They're here, and relatively safe and provided for. Aster, he thinks he's being good.
Arthur's face goes through a whole series of expressions, one then the other, too fast for her to decipher.
Good.
He kept his word. I used to keep my word. They're safe, all right?
Are they here?
She doesn't look at the pair while they talk about her. This is something she remembers from before. It's a little annoying now, just like it was then, but at least now she can see something beautiful during it.
Yes. Stabled.
How's that drawing coming?
Her voice brings Sadie back. The bees have gone back to the wildflowers, and the buzzing is gentler now. She isn't so far away from her body anymore.
I think it's as good as it's gonna get.
A bolt of childish terror goes through her. John had gotten a look at it.
Is it good enough to show him?
Sure.
Dis is staying out of it, Sadie thinks, but there isn't any warning or disapproval in her voice. It's good enough. Trying very hard not to let her hands shake, she holds the paper out before them and doesn't say anything.
Arthur, she's drawn us.
Us? Both of us?
Yes. We look good.
We? Really, we?
She drew me like a god.
Describe it for me.
You were standing there. You look nervous. You're not looking at her. She's got your profile pretty well, though. And I am this fire all around and through you, lighting you, carried by and carrying you. It's impossible to tell in this picture who is the rider and who is the steed.
That's not my favorite phrasing.
It's good. I like it. Hey, Sadie, I like it.
Now her hands really do shake.
Thank you. You can keep it?
Now she's actually risking looking directly at John, she thinks. She blinks a bit because he's brightened considerably. She moves her weight back and forth between her feet, a little overwhelmed, but not afraid or panicking.
It's okay that I look at you? I can keep a secret, if you want me to.
John's hues shift to ambers, sunflower golds, and honeycomb.
Yes, I would like that. Both of those things. An appropriate offering.
John, what the fuck?
I'm trying to help her feel good. Shut up.
The lack of genuine meanness in it makes Sadie giggle.
What on earth for?
Practice for your stupid ass.
It's completely unexpected. She throws her head back and laughs, shakes her head and waves her hand dismissively, and walks over to the weapons rack to pick some things out. Sadie watches her go and muffles her fit of the giggles with her hand, trying not to be unforgivably rude in a first meeting. Arthur's eyes are wide.
She heard you.
I knew it!
But how? The king's spell.
Maybe the same way Sadie can? I don't know. Let's concentrate. Turn toward her. Your left.
If I see you again, I can show you some of the other things I've drawn. It keeps my hands busy.
And then after biting her lip.
Can I ask you a question, sir?
I would like that.
John is so noble-sounding now.
And yes, you may ask.
Arthur rolls his eyes again, but he's stopped arguing.
Is your friend blind? Because you described the drawing. You wouldn't have had to do that if he could see it?
They're both silent.
Smart. Yes, he is. I'm his eyes.
Arthur looks spooked. Said eyes are quite wide.
What else do you see here?
John.
The left hand, which she can clearly see is filled with John's self, lifts and grabs his right arm again as if telling him to hush.
That's good of you. To be them for him. I think I would be scared if I was... He's... brave.
Sadie closes her eyes, gathering her thoughts.
Sorry. Sometimes I have to get the words in order. When you say here, do you mean what I see of your friend? Or you? I didn't really ask your names, but I heard you calling each other them. Your person? He's Arthur, and you're...
He's Arthur. I'm...
The colors slow, but don't stop. Thinking? Arthur holds his breath.
John. I mean, when you look at us, what else do you see?
Dis arrives and lifts Arthur's right hand, shoving a hammer into it.
We're going to be breaking rocks.
Breaking? Are you joking?
Am I?
After this, John thinks it's important.
Sure.
Arthur's surprise at that concession is interesting. Sadie blinks firmly, getting her words in order.
Mr. Arthur is really striking. He's got a face that's easy to draw. I can break down the shapes and get the start down, and that's nice. I think people got out of the way for him, but, you, I can see. I can see you strongest in his eyes and his hand. You're like, when fabric's been mended and the thread's a little different and you can see it, but you're bright. You're a lot different, so you stand out. Sometimes you're...
She gestures, trying to find the word.
A cloud? Like behind him. No, not a cloud. You move. I can see you move, and it's nice to watch you move. That's what I was getting at. You're nice to watch weave around and through and stuff. And you're moving, and I like your colors, and, you...
She pats at her chest.
Like my eyes are blurring a bit? Yeah.
Oh, that's very good.
Sadie can't help it. She blushes at the voice. She knows it's not praise for her, but him being pleased at something else she doesn't understand, and still. Pause. Turn.
Lady Dis, are you going to make a rude and funny joke if I ask what they look like to you?
A little bitch.
The colors rattle like a person's shoulders shaking in mirth.
Excuse me.
Arthur straightens as though his spine just gained extra bones. Sadie sucks her lips in so she doesn't burst into laughter.
Look, I don't talk about this sort of thing or get involved. And I won't again after this, so you owe me.
What?
Yeah.
As though that confirmed something.
You need to be bullied.
What the fuck?
Arthur's hands go right back into fists. She shrugs.
You respond to it. That's all.
I do not.
Arthur's nostrils flare.
I do not like to be pushed.
John is suspiciously silent.
Uh-huh.
Dis shrugs.
I was asked, I answered.
You're wrong.
Uh-huh.
You are wrong.
When this conversation is done, you're doing a lot of push-ups. Then you were doing sit-ups. You don't have a choice.
Fuck you.
You're still doing them.
Well, you already said I don't have a choice, do I?
Dis's expression is something else. Amused, closed off. She doesn't even bother to reply. John seems to decide to skip over all of that and concentrate on Sadie.
You like my colors, do you? What colors are they? I see you only have pencil there. Maybe we can fix that.
John!
Arthur apparently expected something else. Her eyes go wide. He asked her a direct question, but she's going to ignore what he's hinting for now.
You remind me of sunflowers and orange sunsets.
Now she squints, trying to really look closer.
It's really a common color, but you remind me of when corn is ready to harvest, and the nights are a little colder, but you can still keep the windows open.
She tilts her head.
At where you end, you're dark, almost purple-black.
Did you hear that, Arthur? I remind her of sunflowers and sunsets.
Oh, for the love of fuck.
Arthur rubs his face.
You gonna get her colors? Without getting her in trouble?
Yes.
How are you gonna fucking figure that out?
What?
Arthur evidently decides better than repeating himself.
Hammering rocks. You're serious.
Dead fucking serious.
You have my blessing.
John's light moves softly, like the warm embers in a dying bonfire. Sadie doesn't think her eyes can go any bigger. The idea of getting something to add color to her sketches is tempting.
I don't need colors if it's too much. Am I... Lady Dis, can I... If I'm here again when they are, can I talk to them again?
Pause. Then to John and Arthur.
If I'm not a nuisance, I'll be good.
You are no nuisance, daughter of the yellow sign.
And apparently, Arthur has had enough.
Where are the damn rocks?
That way.
Then she turns to Sadie.
Pretty sure you're getting your colors. But secret.
She feels wildly unbalanced, but not in a scary way.
Thank you. Both of you.
And, with the expression of someone who's been taught to worship very specifically.
I promise, Lady Dis. I hope I remember all of this later on. I'll make myself remember. I'll draw you again too, Lady Dis.
Really?
Dis sounds not interested, exactly, but slightly surprised.
That might be fun. Sure.
John has not told Arthur where the rocks are.
Be blessed, child.
Oh, for the love of fuck!
Arthur looks ready to just start smashing things. Dis grins at Sadie. It's that look.
You just have fun. I have to take care of this idiot.
And she grabs Arthur, steers him, and begins walking him toward the distant rock pile like a recalcitrant child, ignoring all protests, moving him so that even if his feet do not work, he's still heading where she wants. His protests are a little silly anyway.
Hey!
And...
I just said I don't like to be pushed.
And...
Not so tight!
The next time Sadie comes to visit, Arthur and John are not there, but Dis wordlessly hands her a packet of colored pencils and then goes back to smashing rocks.
If you enjoyed this production of Surrogate, the Director's Cut, please read the original written work on AO3, where it is still actively updating as of March 2025. A link is in the work notes, where you can also find the social medias of all the production cast. Malevolent was written and produced by Harlan Guthrie, and all characters depicted here belong to their respective creators. The cast and management produced this show for no monetary gain, and all rights remain with the authors. Any sound effects or music used in this production were obtained legally or created by the production cast. Please let us know your thoughts, and, as Kane would say,
stay tuned for the next episode!